Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. I'm going to be talking today about adding photo overlays to your photos. So some of the overlays that I have here are this little line. I've got this little arrows with the quote, my prints, and handsome. So this is from a set that's free on my website, in my resource library. And I kind of made them as this one here is actually from the pack that I made to go with my the Beauty Within bundle. But all of those overlays were a lot more geared towards girls, and so some of my team members asked me if I could make some boy ones to go with it. So I pulled up my cute little guy from a few years ago to help illustrate how to use these. So the first thing I did is I resized my photos. And I always suggest that you duplicate your photo and always work from a duplicated photo rather than your original. So your original always stays untouched. But so these here, once I got them here, I resized them just so that, I wanted them to be about 3 by 4, roughly, in that ballpark, because that I find is a decent size when I'm adding them to a layout. Now, if you were wanting to print this, you would want like maybe an 8 by 10 or something, so you can kind of crop it and size it accordingly based on your project. Today, because I'm doing these for a scrapbook layout, I'm going to do kind of the 3 by 4. I also have the resolution at 300. If you are doing it only for uploading to social media, you can change this to 72, and those images will upload a lot faster because they won't be as big. So just depending on what project you're doing, there's some little tips for sizing your images. Okay, so now I've got my photo here, and I'm going to come over here to my layers palette, which is here on the right. I'm working in Photoshop Elements 18, but most of this is pretty standard in any of the earlier versions as well. If you don't see this panel, then come down here. You might have it off, and this might be what you see. So just simply click Layers, and it pulls up your Layers palette. Okay, and then over here I'm going to click Photo Bin, and down here you'll see I've got my photos and I've got my overlays. So now I'm just going to take this overlay and I'm going to slide it right on top. And there it is. And now, and I always like to simplify the layer once I get it on there so that anything that I want to do with it, it won't give me any issues down the road. Okay, so you can leave this. It certainly looks cute, gives kind of a little extra flair to it. Some other things we can do is if you come up here to this drop-down menu where it says normal, you can click on some things. No, screen just makes it go away. But if you click soft light, for example, it makes it lighter. And in some places it kind of goes away completely. So it just kind of depends. Vivid light doesn't change it a whole lot. Anyway, you can just kind of play around with these and see which ones you want to go with. The other thing you can do is you can have it up here at normal, but if you want it to be a little softer, you can just change the opacity so that it's there, but it's just a little lighter and blends a little bit more. Okay, and then one last thing that you can do is we are going to open up we're going to open up a paper. I'm going to come here to one of my kits, and I'm just going to open up a white paper. You can do this with any color, but we're going to do the white, and I'm going to click it back over to my photo that we're working in, and I'm going to just, slide this white paper up over the top of it. And I'm kind of not sure why that's so small. Let's take a look. Yeah, that should be bigger. Okay, well, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to come over to Tool Options and do Show Bounding Box. And I'm just going to drag this bigger. Because I know that the file quality's there because it is a 12 by 12 sheet. It just opened it smaller. I'm going to do that. Okay. Now I'm going to come up to my layer and I'm going to move this layer on top of my overlay. And now if I right click, I can do Create Clipping Mask and it makes it white. In older versions of Photoshop, I believe it is Shift G is what will clip it. It doesn't have the right click here. That's a new thing in more recent versions. So try either way, but that will clip the white paper to it. And again, you can do any color. You could find a navy blue paper or whatever. Okay, so we're just going to kind of leave that there. And now I'm going to come back down to my photo bin, which will show me all of the stuff down here. And I'm going to drag, first I'm going to click over on Handsome, and I'm just going to size it. Well, actually, you know what? I think this kind of resizes it to fit, so we're going to try that. It does. So we're going to make this a little bit smaller. And then click the green check mark to accept the changes. And then you can move it around. I think this is probably the best place for it. Now, if you would like for it to be also clipped to this, then what you can do is you can take these two, our one overlay and our new word overlay. Well, actually what we're going to do is we're going to take this, highlight this paper one and go up to add a new layer, and it's going to add two of them. Then we're going to drag the top one down on top of this one and then create a clipping mask. That way they both have a clipping mask. And then if you want to give it a little bit of pop, you can also add on a little bit of a shadow, a drop shadow. So there you go. There's one example of that. Now let's take off these papers. Whoops. And even this top overlay. And we're going to drag over one of these other ones. Maybe this Hello Handsome one. And go to Tool Options and Show Bounding Box. And slide this a little smaller. Oops. And then we can just slide it right up to here. Now this one would totally get lost because of the dark background here. So again, we'd want to go to our photo bin, slide our paper up over it, and create the clipping mask. There you go. And again, if you want to just apply a shadow, you simply make sure that the bottom layer, that's your actual word art or overlay there, is the one highlighted, and add the shadow. Okay, so those are kind of the main things that you can do. You can clip different papers, you can change the different settings here and play around with those. I think even once you get these, if you wanted to merge them so that it stays white, you can play, you know, a little more with the overlay. But then it kind of, yeah, so it just depends. And you can duplicate it and make it a little bit stronger. Whoops, but you don't want to do that. So make sure if you move them, you move both together. Anyway, those are some of the different ideas and ways that you can use photo overlays on your photos. Thank you for joining me.